10 games in for the Pacers. Let's talk about a key guy in a new position. And Andrew Nembhard, how'd he look in his 2 games post-return? And 2 guys who have played every game and are developing, Ben Sheppard and Jarace Walker. What have we seen from them, the Pacers offense, and much more with Jeremiah Johnson of the Pacers broadcast team today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, Jeremiah Johnson, pregame and postgame, plus sideline reporting for the Pacers, is going to join us to talk Pacers and their first 10 games. Andrew Nembhard is back. What did we think of his first 2 games back on the floor? We talked some Jarace Walker and Ben Sheppard, 2 of the 5 players who have played in all 10 games for the Pacers this year. The Pacers' offensive struggles and how much of that should be attributed to health, and so much more. Great show. We also talk about Jeremiah Robinson Earl for a few seconds. By the time this episode comes out, his 10-day will have expired. We'll see if the Pacers have a hardship available to sign him. I don't think they do right this second. If they need another player, it's very confusing. Anyway, that's not relevant to this, but we do bring him up, and I did want to include that he will not be on the team, I believe, for their game in Utah. Anyway, let's just get right to it with Jeremiah Johnson. You hear him every time the Pacers play on the pregame show, the postgame show, doing all the sideline reporting, and I believe this is the first time we have ever talked where there is both a Tony and a Jeremiah on the Pacers, albeit only for a couple more hours. It's Jeremiah Johnson from the Pacers broadcast team. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't realize everyone had a kinship to their, it didn't strike me, Tony Bradley and Tony East, but it only to me mattered that we had Jeremiah Robinson Earl. And then when I brought that up on the broadcast, Quinn, I guess, had been talking about Quinn Snyder about a week ago, that he only has one N in his name. But yeah, who knew there were only 3 Jeremiahs in NBA history?
Getting the Jeremiah Martin poll was impressive. His brief time with the Cavs is the only thing I remember of him in the NBA. But
thanks, Basketball Reference and Pat Boylan. We had it was part of a text chain discussion a week and a half ago, and I've been sitting on this report, and then I'm like, I need to get it in.
His last game. Well, I guess he could be.
We don't know.
It was his last game of his last deal. It's funny you said that, because I didn't think anything of okay, the Pacers have Tony Bradley on their team. But then in press conferences, people would say Tony. And at first I would look, or I'd react. I'm like, wait, I can't, it's actually hard to get that out for a second. I don't know if you even had to deal with that often.
We had the same thing about a week and a half ago. I mean, there's no one else around the team with the name Jeremiah. So when you start hearing it, I immediately, what?
Well, we should be lucky. Do you remember the year of McConnell, Warren, and Leaf all turning their head for TJ in practices?
Exactly.
At least there's only 2 that we had to deal with. Okay, you are, I believe, in Salt Lake City, where somehow it is way warmer there than it is in snowy, cold Indiana. And speaking of cold, the Pacers' offense is a little cold. We'll get to that in a second. But I want to start with this. 2 games, Andrew Nembhard is back. I want to start with assessing his performances now that he's played 2 actually full games and a back-to-back with the Pacers so far. The 3-ball has not gone in. I think that's noteworthy to everybody. I have really liked his passing toward the basket, his ability to actually get the offense flowing, which this team has really needed this year. How have you kind of assessed what he's done through these 2 games so far?
The shots did not fall team-wise over the weekend, but they looked like, to me, they were running better offensive sets. The plays were at least at times leading to the kind of shots you would want. And as you mentioned, I mean, a number of great opportunities created from Andrew Nembhard. He's one of those guys. I mean, how many games have we watched him now in his career? We know who he is and what he is capable of. And I feel like we know he's been capable of even more than he's shown really the last couple of years, because he's been off the ball. I think he is someone who can be a starting caliber point guard in the NBA. And the Pacers obviously hope he's that this season. And then they probably prefer him to be a little bit more of a hybrid role moving forward. But what you need him to be is healthy. And maybe we jinxed it a little bit in talking a little bit during the preseason that he's the one player you could not afford to lose. And 1/2 into game number 1, he exits. The good news was that it wasn't, months type of injury, but still with these challenging opponents and with all the other variables, it's just been a tough start to the season to not have him available. I mean, I'll go so far as to say they beat the Thunder possibly if he plays that whole game. And, how many other games where they were in they were in clutch time. The last couple leave a little bit bad taste in your mouth, but it was 6 of 8 at least clutch time. And so to not have any real true point guard in games that are like that, you're going to have problems against teams that are the best in the world when they have their point guard. So I was glad to see him back. A little bit of incomplete on how I feel like the team can fare with him back, because you only had him that one game in Denver. And let's be honest, I mean, they are really, really good. Now, they didn't have Gordon Murray, so you thought there was an opening to have a chance to win that game. But I also did think Aaron Nesmith and Pascal Siakam were wearing down a little bit. I think it was a smart move by the coaching staff to give them that night off on Sunday and see what it gives me that much more reason to look forward to Tuesday and Thursday, seeing those two players with Andrew Nembhard.
Yeah, it was funny leading up to even preseason being like, yeah, if they lose Nembhard, they're in trouble. And that was before they lost McConnell also. Like it's not funny, like, to use the Siakam line. It's not funny, but this is ridiculous. It's all at the same position. And we just did this last year with center. Obviously this year, the number of injuries are even more so. And it's weird with Nembhard specifically, because if you're trying to evaluate a point guard, on one hand, he has done good things. I think they'll be happy with his scoring numbers, albeit on a lot of shots. And again, I've liked the passing quite a bit. And somebody who can wiggle and get into the lane, and he has a pet shot from the elbow. And if he gets another dribble, the defense reacts. He can pass really well. Like, that is good for your offense. Obviously, I think they've functioned well with him out there. But he's also been functioning out there with lineups he might never play with again. One of the players he played with in Golden State, he literally might never play with again. Who's not his contract is over. These lineups are just so being built on the fly because they have to. They don't have another option. It's the team that they have available. So the fact that he's been able to at least elevate their movement, their ball handling somewhat, I think is relevant in those contexts. Now, if they have more of a team together with that'll be good. That said, his goal before the season, I heard him do that podcast, Hey Hello, with the guys in Toronto, where he said they asked him about being a playoff riser with his threes. And, you've heard that question a bajillion times like me now. And this was the first time his answer wasn't about the playoffs. He was like, okay, I want to make him in the regular season now. I want that to be my normal level of shooting. I know that was a goal for him this season, and it has decidedly not happened yet. Granted, he's going to be taking the hardest threes possible. He's setting all of them up for himself. But that's the part where, if you're him, you're a little disappointed that, you haven't really hit him at all. He hit the 2 to start the first half in Golden State, and the rest just have not gone in.
Yeah, and it is the second half of the back-to-back, so you're still trying to figure things out. I mean, the circumstances probably could not have been worse for your return, in that you're starting at altitude, and, conditioning is going to be a little bit of an issue until you start to play that first game. Then you're on the short rest game, and then you don't have Nesmith and Siakam. So no way for me to criticize or even, give a grade or anything.
Yeah.
Again, as I said at the beginning, I know what Andrew Nembhard is. I know what he's capable of. The only thing that I really want, I'd like to have another primary ball handler type alongside him, to where you think about when the Pacers were really good last year and he's alongside Tyrese Haliburton. I want that same benefit with Andrew Nembhard. And so it may not happen right away, but I did think Rick Carlisle in his press conference after the Warriors game brought up the combination of Monte Morris and Andrew Nembhard. So that might be something we look forward to over the next couple of games, because, again, Tyrese Haliburton, obviously, he is a true point guard, but it does help him when you have that other ball handler, much like I think it'll help Andrew Nembhard. When other guys start to get healthy, not to say he's going to be playing with TJ McConnell a lot, because you're going to probably need both of them. But even if you had Bennedict Mathurin out there, just that scoring threat to ease some of that pressure on Andrew Nembhard. So just keep him healthy. Hopefully Nesmith and Siakam, the rest can benefit them. And you can start to, in games 11 through 20, look more like the Pacers and not like the team we saw in the first 10 games.
Yeah, I do want to see the point guard overlaps as well. This is almost comical to say, because it took them 10 games to be healthy enough to do this. So they played Atlanta, and in that game, either Q or Ray J was on the floor the whole game, but never both. Same thing, the home game they won against the Warriors. Then they played Denver. They had one of Monte or Nembhard on the floor the full 48, but never at the same time. It took them 10 games, but they did it. In Golden State, they had 2 point guards on the court at the same time for all of about 2 minutes of competitive time, but they did it. And Rick wants to get to that. They love those looks, and I'll be curious, like you just said, to see if they can get Monte plus Nembhard together. McConnell's return when it comes could help that. Maybe sneaking in 5 minutes of Ray J. Dennis could help that. Who knows? But I think that will help both of them. And we saw better defense for Monte Morris in that second game. Nembhard's doing some stuff. It's been interesting. That said, You were right. Tough circumstances, altitude. The Warriors are good. They had like 9 healthy players. They scored a total of 183 points in 2 games in this back-to-back. Their offensive rating is officially now last. Look, I actually should frame this differently. Instead of what do the Pacers need to do to score, which is on the graphic. How much of this is, and the answer could be all of it, do you put to health, and how much do you put to there's actually things they need to do better offensively? Everybody, quick break to talk about 2 great groups of people. First up is FanDuel. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel. They're the official sports betting partner of the NBA, even if you missed the start of the game or you just want to ride the hot hand. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play our games with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's also quickly talk about Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. If you say yes to making the switch, getting premium wireless for just $15 a month, Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk-to-text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep the same number and contacts, the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. The setup is really easy. You keep your number, and then you're just running in minutes. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45. Required limited time. New customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigs on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for more details.
Not to make excuses, but some of those lineups that you mentioned, I just find myself watching. And during large portions of that Golden State game, you basically had 4 players on the court that I didn't sit and talk to at media day. And that was only, the season just started. So if you think about what you try to accomplish at training camp in terms of putting in sets, putting in plays, developing chemistry, one of the big benefits of this team, not just last season, but then going into this season, was you expected so many of these guys are familiar faces. I mean, I'll bring up media day again. It was odd the last 2 seasons to have not very many players that I had to introduce myself to and get to know, because we've known them all. And it's not just about me. It's about they know each other on the court. Well, I've had to introduce myself to more new players in the last 2 weeks than I did in the last 2 years. And so that can't help but cause problems offensively, especially in a read and react type of offense where some of what makes them successful is they know where each other is going to be at all times. How can you know where Cody Martin is going to be, where he likes the ball? Then you don't even have a point guard, as you said, a true point guard for much of this time. You're having guys play out of position. Ben Sheppard's a perfect example. I want to see him play for a couple of weeks in the role that he is best at, not be bouncing around, having to be the point guard. He may have increased defensive responsibilities more than maybe he had last year, but that's okay. But I want to evaluate him for what he is, not the stopgap type of position. So I will admit, going into the season, it was maybe my biggest concern. Outside of just saying, what about the backup point guard or the point guard situation? What about the center? It was the 3-point shooting specifically, because you're not going to stop shooting threes. But if you take away Tyrese Haliburton and Miles Turner, 2 of your best, 3 or 4 3-point shooters, and you still want to shoot the threes, what's going to happen to the percentage? And so we've seen it drop off dramatically. Siakam, I thought last year was, maybe not career best from 3, but very close to it. Could he replicate that? Aaron Nesmith, I know he's a 3-point shooter, but a lot of that is because he's getting these catch and shoot wide open shots. And now if he's got to create them on his own, he probably feels like he has to shoot more, even if it's not a good shot, because he's the guy on the court for some of these plays. So I was worried about 3-point shooting specifically going into the season. I'm not sure that I'm immediately, when you get a couple of guys back healthy, I'm not sure that's going to be significantly better, but you've got to increase that percentage. I mean, so many times I'm looking up at either the box score in the arena thinking, man, it seems like shots are tough to come by, and they're around 35% almost the entire game. And I almost tweeted it. I'm glad I didn't, because it was almost a reverse jinx, but both the Pacers and Warriors are right around 35%. I was like, whoever can get close to 40 probably wins this game. And then all of a sudden the Warriors caught fire and then the game turned into a blowout. So I don't know. I can't sit here right now, and I'm sure the coaching staff couldn't just tell you what they need to do to be better offensively other than get guys healthy and then also get those new players and combinations more time together, because it's not something that's going to happen through, a bunch of practice. I mean, they're probably averaging one practice every week and a half or 2 weeks now. So, they had a good one in Denver, but I think they acknowledge who knows when the next one's going to be. So those new players, and some of them are going to go away, but even, the guys that come back from injury, you hope they can kind of get back into that chemistry and routine. And then all of a sudden they can come back to them of, oh yeah, if Mathurin's on the court and McConnell's on the court and you got Nesmith and Siakam and Nembhard, you're looking more like a team, and those guys have a lot of miles together.
They need to play the Wizards in DC like last year to get their percentages right, is what the answer is. That'll balance out everything.
So yeah, right now, who do you determine is the worst in the league defensively? I've been looking.
I think it's Washington,
rating.
I believe. Yeah.
Still, so you don't play them until February.
Oh boy,
that's the two games right after the All-Star break. So to think that they'll immediately come out of the break firing might be a lot to ask for.
The Wizards have climbed to 29th in defense. They have passed the team the Pacers already played, the Brooklyn Nets. So still a fun couple games coming in February. So two things about the shooting. One, obviously Haliburton's a great shooter. He also, like you said this a little bit, like he makes everybody else's shots easier, right? So like every single player is taking harder threes. The other thing that I just started formulating this thought, so it's not super complete, but you mentioned like lineups and meeting new players and all this. To me, I'm calling it the J Huff index. So J Huff joins the Pacers, and they're like, here's what you're going to do. Here's what your role is going to be. And he goes through all of camp with this second unit or whatever. And then every game, he's been with a different lineup in a different role with different players. He's played the 4 twice. He started the 4 twice this year. J Huff's never played the 4 in the NBA. He's playing with players that are new to the team that he is new to. It's like, if he is the guy who doesn't know what's going on around him, it's not because he was in camp. Like, he's their new player. He was supposed to be their new guy this year who kind of give him a new dimension at center. And even everything's new for him. The lineups are new to him. And so if it's J Huff, who's like the second most experienced Pacer on the floor, which I think actually did happen in the Warriors game, it was Ray J. Dennis 1, J Huff 2, and then the 3 new guys. Like, what are we even evaluating? Like, why am I even asking you this question? Duh, they're going to have a bad offense. They don't know each other. Like, they're basically strangers. And that's not really true. They're in the NBA, but that is a big part of it. It's just they've been so unhealthy. 2 hardships is comical this early in the season. It's insane. But at the same time, yes, they need to make shots. And like, it's players that I've seen, even without Tyrese Haliburton, make these shots before, is why I keep asking the question. I get that this is much harder than just missing Tyrese, but a lot of it is context, who they're playing with and all that makes it very challenging to actually like be consistent on that end of the floor. And oh, by the way, I think 5 or 6 of the games, someone has gotten hurt mid-game. So even what you planned to use as the lineup goes away. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
And even some of the new players that have come in, I think of them as hustle guys, glue guy type of guys, or guys that even in their careers, Cody Martin's had a good NBA career. A lot of people would be very happy with the number of years he has in the league. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl has been able to be a glue guy, but probably a lot of the times in their careers, they've been on the court as the 5th offensive option, right? Yeah. And so you can't all of a sudden put 3, 5, 5th options on the court. Well, then one of them's third. One of them's the 3rd option. And then think of the pressure that it puts on whoever is the best option. And for the example that you just gave about, those 3 players and Ray J, I don't know how you could probably expect it to be significantly better. Now, again, it gets back to Pascal Siakam. He's okay. Like last season, would you have said he was second, third-ish option offensively? I'm talking just scoring. Much of the time he's in there. If Mathurin's on a heater, then he's 3rd option. If Aaron Nesmith's on a heater, yes, and he never will force his shots. But without a doubt, all season long, number 1 option. So what does that do? It means the number 1 defensive player's on him, plus bringing help. And you can help off the player who's not really a threat. Well, there are more Pacers on the court that aren't really threats. And to your J. Huff example, I've been thinking watching him, and it's like I remember that game in Memphis last season when it was like it led me to be like, who's J. Huff, right? Because he was just knocking down all these shots.
Yeah.
But you can't get those shots like that. Now, I don't know his wide open to contested rate. Feels like some of them he's probably tried to let it go a little quickly, but there's others he's been open and you would like him to be shooting a high percentage. But regardless, if you're running, minutes with a good Memphis team who's running some good sets and you're getting these open shots and you're not near the top of the scouting report, it's going to be a lot easier than if you're all of a sudden, as you mentioned, J. Huff's in and he's maybe the second guy they're worried about. So there's a trickle-down effect. You knew it would be a challenge without Tyrese Haliburton. But, when I watch them, and I shouldn't make too much of the preseason, but just when I watched them, the way they fought then in that Oklahoma City game, you thought they still had enough of the pieces in place, enough of that Pacers ecosystem, if you will, to use I think a Rick Carlisle word, that they would be okay. But the other challenge has just been this schedule sucks. I mean,
holy cow.
Again, not an excuse, but when I saw it in August, I was just like, man, this is rough. And it's nothing about like personal, travel or back-to-back. It was just how many Western Conference opponents are you playing before you've even been a month into the season? At the end of this week, you'll have basically half of your Western Conference road trips already complete. And we all know the West is better than the East. So these are going to be tough games no matter what. And to have them in your first, 15 games is crazy.
I always do the schedule thing and I highlight what I consider their key stretches, either hardest, easiest, most important, whatever. First 10 games I've never done that before. Like this is it. This is probably their hardest stretch of the season. That's also a little cop-outy, but like it's not insane to me that even if they were healthy, they'd be like 3-7 or 2-8 right now. They've played that hard of a schedule, 3 back-to-backs within their first 10 games. It's been nuts. Two guys.
So the challenge is to not over. It's easy to get down from a fan perspective and to think the season's over. The players, you start to get guys back. You just need to experience some success to remind yourself there were a lot of reasons that the start was what it was. Things can get back, but we'll see what happens. I think they need to have some success sooner rather than later before, it affects you a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be weird when why it's happening. Like it doesn't feel as bad because you can understand it, but it's still happening. You're 1-9. Like at some point you feel that you're 1-9. One more break here, guys. We got to talk about two wonderful groups of people. First up, Game Time. Basketball season's here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queue, surprise fees, and price jumps that happen right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated. When you just want to cheer on your favorite team, Game Time is here to help. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. You can use Game Time to get tickets for Pacers Raptors coming up this weekend. You can have the seats in minutes. What you see is what you pay. There's no hidden fees that pop up at checkout. You can even see your exact view before you buy the tickets. Their zone deals are a game changer. You can even find some NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, all one word, for $20 off. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. We also need to talk very quickly about Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. You can trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategy with a tailored portfolio manager managed by a team of experts. You expect more from your money, and you can expect more from yourself. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. 5 players have played all 10 games for the Pacers, which on one thing to say is just insane to say out loud. One hilarious thing about that is I spent all summer being like, well, the centers, and you never know who's going to be healthy at center, and the Achilles tears. All 3 centers have played all 10 games. Good for them. I actually want to talk about the other 2 of the 5, though, and that's Ben Sheppard and Jarace Walker. Both, 1, because they've played all 10, but 2, because the secondary part of a season being whatever it is, no Tyrese Haliburton, your ceiling's a little lower, is evaluate your young guys. Great. These 2 young guys who had their options picked up at the end of last month have played all 10 games. They're playing different. Like you talked about, their options are higher. Ben Sheppard is playing point guard. That's like, what? That should, I never would have expected that. What have you seen from them both go well and stuff they need to keep growing on this season?
I think that they're in a similar but yet different situation because a little bit like Andrew Nembhard, I feel like I know what Ben Sheppard is and what his value is. And again, I'm not trying to rank players, but to me, he seems like a guy that is your perfect 8th or 9th guy on a really good team. And so could he have a bigger role? Could he have nights he hits 4 for 6 from 3? Yes. But the ability to shoot plus the ability to take on a big challenge defensively, what I would say is one or the other in a big game, and also not to be fazed by the moment is something that I don't need to see it. I'm feeling pretty good about where he is. It would have been to me a blessing if all of a sudden during this stretch or even this season he makes this big giant leap. I'm not sure that it's required or mandatory for him. I think he can have a long NBA career, Pacers or otherwise, and I think doesn't make a lot of money. I know you get into salaries a lot on your coverage. He's just kind of like a perfect player to have. Durability, knock on wood, has been good as well. It'd be better if he was shooting a little bit better, helping the offense a little bit more. Just place basically through 10 games. I would like him maybe to be playing just a little bit better, but my microscope isn't out analyzing all of his moves. On the other hand, this is an opportunity that Jarace Walker probably has been waiting for. The team needs him desperately. He does things that other players can't. But I also wish his first 10 games had gone a little bit better. And do I still think it's possible? Yes, but the time is now. If you go through this season and it's not significantly better, then what's your confidence that next year or the year after Pascal's not there, Pascal's hurt, whatever, that he can all of a sudden jump in and be your starting 4? He has to show that now. He's getting this opportunity. Again, he has the tools. He was drafted in a position where a lot was expected of him. And so it's time to show it. In some of these games, when you look around at Golden State and you don't have Pascal and Aaron, he needs to be the leading scorer, right? I mean, the leading scorer had 14 points.
Or closer,
but he really needed to have 20 or 25 for the Pacers probably to have a chance. And I hate to say you go into a game thinking that, because that's more of a selfish take probably, but that's not necessarily the Pacers' way. But I was a little disappointed over the weekend, and I hope that he can do more with the opportunities moving forward.
You want a bunker stat that I will immediately contextualize after I say it? Ben Sheppard is averaging 5 times more drives per game than last season.
Wow.
Now, granted, this is going from 0.7 to 3.5. So it's not, but it's fun to say 5 times more. It sounds cooler. That is
what's the team drives? What are they looking like?
Actually higher, which is it. So I actually want to look into what the NBA calls a drive, because Jarace is a perfect example. Jarace gets a lot of gets towards the rim. He's about 10 feet away. He's in the paint, but he's not at the basket, right? Is that a drive? Is that just pressure? What is that? Andrew Nembhard takes, the 12-footer, 18-footer elbow-ish shot. Is that a drive? What do they actually count? Their drives per game are up a little. I think it's 5 or 6 per game from last year, but what they're doing with them is obviously much different. They're getting fewer shots actually right at the basket. Sheppard is getting there more. I think that's a big thing for his growth that has been obvious, and that's been required of him in this role. Some of it's just because he's a blur in transition. But I say the same thing with Sheppard all the time. I'm a fan of his game because he doesn't mess up very much. He's like the Monte Morris of shooting guards, right? He doesn't turn it over very much. He busts his butt on defense. That guy's going to wiggle around every screen and fight. But at some point, if you're going to be a mistake-free player, if you miss 7 out of 10 shots, that is a mistake level. And he's shooting 32% this year and 22% from 3. He has to make them, and he has not made them. And that's part of growth for him would have been just more consistent shot making. We're having this discussion at a terrible time for Jarace because he just had, I think, the worst game of his season Sunday and was not particularly awesome against Denver. If we'd had it right after the Dallas game, we'd be like, look at that. There we go. He starts for the first time. I think the interview was with you, right? Where he said, oh, yes, when you start, you have the expectation of how you feel going into the game. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it. It was his halftime walk-off that night. He was really
I
great.
should remember them because there haven't been too many. I think we've had 3 half-timers and 1 post-game, right?
They scored to go up 1 right before that halftime, right? Yeah. So you're scrambling all of a sudden?
Well, you're always planning for it, but there are times you think it's going to happen and then it doesn't, and then vice versa. So it's a good thing I don't get paid by the walk-off interview this season.
Anyway, yeah, he has got to just get his turnovers under control and dribble more toward the basket and stop fading away over smaller players. Like, use the size as power. Stuff they've been saying for him all the time, right? And I know
and
he can
do it. He does do well on the drives, Tony, is he'll drive and he knows, let's say, defenses collapse. There's an open guy on the other block. And that's where I'm not seeing enough of that this season. He's capable of that, but everyone else kind of gets that drive and they're going straight to the basket. You're not going to get a foul called every single time you go to the basket. The referees don't want to stop the game that much, even though they do for some teams. But that's where some of these new players, they may not understand, hey, Jarace will hit me. If he's driving left block, he gets collapsed. He's going to find me on the other side. That's where some of the drives could pay off a little bit better if they had a little bit more time together.
I agree. I think Caitlin wrote it well today that right now, and maybe it gets like Jarace is really good in the middle of a zone, for example. He's really good at when there's already a half-step advantage or an advantage created by somebody else of keeping it alive with his dribble, but not necessarily creating it himself. And so in their current reality with basically nobody who can do that consistently besides Pascal, he's had a tougher time. And I think that's totally accurate, but you'd hope that there'd be a little more progress there, and defensively the same thing there. And it's just frustrating to evaluate young players because it's a big part of the season when everybody's hurt and it's like an impossible context anyway. JJ, I've kept you 7 minutes longer than I asked for. I apologize. If you have anything else,
20. I thought 20 was you're letting me off easy.
Well, you're busy on the road.
There are times it's like when I talk with Pat and we decide how long we're going to go. It's always 15 minutes longer than we say, even in times where we say, oh man, I don't have a whole lot to say. So as long as there's good conversation, I'm good.
Anybody volunteering their time to me, I always feel bad if I get more from them.
What? I thought it was like $1,000 a show rate. No deal.
You hang up immediately when I use the word volunteer there. Yeah, that would have been totally fair. Yeah. You have actual stuff to do on the road right now. I'm assuming everybody knows who you are, but if you would like to tell them where they can find the things you do with the Pacers, that'd be great.
Oh, at PacersJJ on Twitter. I've said this for years, and I don't know if it's going to change, but maybe I'll be better on Instagram or TikTok. I'm not even on TikTok, but I'm old school. This is a little known fact. It's still Twitter for me because did you know if you never update your Twitter app from way back when, I still have the blue bird.
Wow.
Now my iPad got an automatic update, but I'm sure it'll probably corrupt my phone at some point because the updates are supposed to be safety features, but I'm holding firm. It is Twitter for me. It's a tweet. It's a blue bird that's on my phone at PacersJJ. Feel free to reach out. And Sideline Guys every Wednesday with Pat Boylan.
Pat is one of the few guys. I pride myself in being a good stats researcher. I ask Pat for stats help sometimes. That is Pat. He's the coach.
Well, I sit next to Pat every game, and we have different methods that we kind of cover the game and watch the game. I am of such that I have the old notepad out, or maybe the back of my scripts in case my notepad's out of paper. But I try to write down every play, in log style, because that's how I used to do it. Even at like Fox 59, I've still got some log sheets from those Butler tournament runs, where one side's one team, one side's the other. And then in the gaps, things that are said, if Quinn says something, like I can write those. Sometimes it's hard to go back and find them during the post-game show specifically, but that to me keeps me in the game. And if I don't do that, I don't feel like I'm like all locked into the game. Pat, meanwhile, doesn't do that, but he's got his laptop open and he is on Basketball Reference. And so once a half, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? So most of the time he comes up with it on his own, but I know that if I have an idea of a stat, he'll find out the truth and whether it's accurate or not. And then we also have a little secret service where we can actually send, who knows, now they're probably just like AI people, but we can send a question and they'll tell us the answer within a few minutes. So a lot of times late in the game, I need to check my text chats from Pat because we go our separate ways and he'll rattle off some things that we weren't aware of. So shout out, Pat.
Love Pat Boylan. Love the Pacers broadcast crew. Have a great time in Utah.
And, I can remember back in the day, I do need to hopefully give you props because you did text me during the fourth quarter about the Jeremiah hit. And first, I'm like, congrats to Tony for still watching, but that is his job, is to watch every game. So I'm expecting him to be watching. But when we first started doing this, all I would ever hear you talk about was watching the other team's broadcast. So thanks for watching our show last night.
Okay. But I think I gave good reasoning for doing so at the time.
You did, but every time there are some broadcasts I would think maybe you'd be like, was it that? Did I really learn that much about the other team?
Yes,
should watch
that is
guys.
Definitely true. That is 100% true.
So
there
every
are
once
some
in a while,
that I learned like
it's
nothing.
Okay. Well, yeah. And to be honest, maybe that's their objective. They may. Well, no, you were trying to learn about the other teams, right? Yeah.
Yes, back then.
Feeling like Yeah. You're welcome to watch however you want. But I was glad you were watching last night.
I am exclusively now a watcher of the.
Oh, really? You don't even do that at all anymore?
No, never. I mean, outside of national, obviously, but that's it.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate it.
I now have to.
Maybe that's why ratings are up.
I'm required every Wednesday night for Locked On NBA to watch a bunch of games anyway, so I keep up with every team no matter what. So
good. All right.
It's great.
Well, keep up the good work. I do respect your daily updates. If I had to do this, I love having the forum and the outlet with Pat once a week, and I'm sure I could do it, but like every day would be a little bit of a challenge.
I have so many like nonsense notes of like, I could make this a topic. I could probably talk about this for 9 to 10 minutes.
And the fact you do it by yourself, talking to yourself a lot, that's also.
You'll be shocked to know that even not recording, I talk to myself a lot. So easy peasy, turn the mic on, let it ride.
The thing about that is to me, that's a really unique quality, and filling in a few times over the years on the different 107.5 The Fan shows, when I've been asked to fill in as a 2-person show, I'm like, sign me up. Like, it's stealing money. Like I could do that in my sleep. The 2 or 3 times I've had to fill in for JMV, 3 hours by yourself. And then, I mean, you could even load the show up with guests, but just to come on the air, especially on like an opening monologue, or think I'm going to like set the stage for the show in the day with 15 minutes of just me talking, is daunting. And I felt like the times I did that was work. So shout out to you.
And I give JMV and Jake credit because they do that every day, and they have to do it for every sport. Like, not just like one thing that they hyper focus on. They've got to be.
Yeah, Jake does it now too. Yeah, I hadn't ever filled in for his show, and that show used to be 2 people, and I used to fill in for that one. But yeah, doing 2 to 3 hours of radio by yourself can be tough. I mean, the benefit is having those guests though every once in a while.
And I'm very grateful that you were one of them today, JJ. Thank you very much. Everybody, we'll be back here tomorrow talking about a game JJ's broadcasting in Utah. Pacers Jazz. No Rudy Gobert. Used to be Pacers Jazz. It was a guaranteed brawl every season. Now we'll see what it looks like this time. A winnable game for the Pacers, especially if they're healthy. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Check out JJ and everything he does, both on Twitter that he still has and the broadcasts. See you very soon.